All right, this last handout is a great example of how things change when you change the underlying parameters of the space that you're working in. So, well, in 3 space, it's pretty easy to come up with 2 lines that aren't parallel in the sense that they don't go in the same direction and yet never intersect. Look at that. This one will go on forever out in that direction, this one will go forever in that direction, and they don't intersect. Well, that's all very well. Could be more interesting if I could even give you a whole collection of lines, an infinite family, if you will, in 3 space that never intersect. Well, I could start with a line there in the xy plane of 3 space where z equals 0, so it's not up at all, and it just goes across like that. So maybe it's like y equals 0. And then I could go 1 unit up and I could put a line at y equals x. So slope 1, if you will, in the z equals 1 plane. And then I could go up 1 more and I could make the line a little steeper, y equals 2x. And then I could go up 1 more unit and make it 3x and 4x and 5x and 6x and so on and so forth. And I would end up with this beautiful surface that looked like that. And in fact, if you sort of did a continuous version of this, you'd realize that you've actually got what's called a ruled surface here. So it's made up of a whole lot of straight lines. And the kind of cool thing about this is that if you get over here, it just looks like this surface is straight. But if you come and you look at it sort of like that, you realize that there's all sorts of curves in it. So it's kind of fun to think that you could make a curvy surface out of straight lines. And none of those lines intersect. Crazy. A second great extension is to think about planes in 3 space. So that means sort of something that goes off in 2 directions. So, boom, it goes off like that, and it's just flat surface like that. So as opposed to a straight piece of line, it's now a flat thing, which has lots of straight lines in it, but it doesn't have other ones in it. Well, it doesn't have this one in it. Now, of course, there are lots of different ways to describe a plane. One way to describe this plane would be all the points that are equidistant from these 2 points. That might seem familiar to you, because it is. It's quite similar to the way that we define the line as all the points that were equidistant to these 2 points just in the plane. And in the same way that we had 3 different definitions for lines, you could actually come up with some different definitions for planes. Now I'm going to leave that with you for your students to wrestle with, and it's good for them to wrestle with it because it's something that they'll encounter later on, and certainly if you've got some students that are blasting through, just plant the seeds for those sorts of things. And in the same way that we had parallel lines, we could have parallel planes, meaning planes that never intersect. But there are other ways to define about what it means to be parallel. Have your students see if they can think about what those other ways might be. It sort of means that they're going in the same directions. I mean, they both go that way, but they both also go that way. How does that work? Neither of them go in that direction. In fact, both of them are sort of orthogonal, if you will, perpendicular to that direction. And in fact, it turns out that if you think about a vector that's perpendicular to the plane, any 2 planes that have vectors that are parallel, perpendicular vectors that are parallel, well, those 2 planes are parallel. Alright, anyway, this is all just a little bit of extra stuff for your students that are blasted through ahead of schedule. See the future questions that they're going to come across right here and now. Otherwise, thanks for joining in on the Straight Lines Teacher Resources section. Don't forget to come back next, because we're going to look at donuts and what that has to do with straight lines, and what that has to do with space, and ultimately what that has to do with spotted. Alright, we'll see you soon. Please do come back for donuts.